Can you hear the background noise?
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Oh, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you that well. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if
Hey,
it's
people that
me.
are here. You're looking at me with no makeup. I was supposed to just be lying in bed talking with y'all, but
Give me a
can you
second.
hear? Oh, I can hear you now, Joe.
You can hear me now. Okay.
Better.
So, yeah, I think it was on the wrong microphone.
Oops.
We're now getting a little bit better. We
Can you hear the movie in the
apologize.
background?
It's fine. It's good. So, yeah, we apologize for all that. Yeah, again, not going to really take the blame for it because
It's Twitter.
Spaces broke.
I
So,
thought it's because I bought the blue, and I'm like, oh, great. Now it's glitchy because I've changed things.
yeah, well, once you get a higher in Twitch, you start scaring the Elon fans, and the
Yeah.
whole thing goes to shit. So it is totally your fault. You broke Twitter by just being there, and
Just trying to be blue.
I know trying to be blue, and being blue like us others who are suckered ourselves into convincing that this is gonna be a good idea. We can do.
Did you share it on Twitter?
I did share it on Twitter.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm starting on Twitter. But I'm trying to speak on this. But while I'm trying to write this out, you can recap. Hey, what?
Yeah, well, let's talk about stuff that's happened this week. I don't know. I kind of want to start with something that I found out today. Can I do that?
Absolutely. What'd you find out today?
Well, I don't know. It turns out that Theo Fleury, his abuser, because he was sexually assaulted by his coach, he ended up co-owning a team called the Calgary Hitmen and hired that same coach to be the coach for his team.
Yeah.
So that's news. Not just totally blew my head off. That was crazy. But now I'm getting into it with somebody on Twitter, and I want to know what you guys think about this because I'm not sure what to think. So somebody said that I am victim blaming a sexual assault survivor because I called him out about it. And would I do that to a woman? And so my response was, if that woman brought her abuser to be an authority over other potential victims, yeah, I would. So then their response was, then stay away from sexual assault survivors. Good thing you don't work for whatever. So I'm just trying to think. Does anybody see any validity in that? Like, and it's okay if you do. Like, I need to hear some arguments. Right now, we're just tit for tatting. But do I not? Is this like he is accusing people who support drag queens as a problem, or that because they, according to him, are probably, he thinks that they are pedophiles, but he invited a pedophile into his organization and put this pedophile in charge of other potential victims. So that pisses me the fuck off. But am I not being compassionate enough because he has PTSD, or he is like, does he get a pass because he is a sexual assault survivor? Like, I need to hear from people. I need to know. And I'm like, you can change my mind about this shit. You totally can.
So it's very much an interesting thing in regards to so I think everybody here is going to agree with Kingston in regards to try not to put more people in danger. So that is true. Absolutely in regards to, and I think that's the first thing that Deana's calling out in regards to, like, okay, you said this person has been affected by, was the victim of a sexual assault or whatever trauma, but then to hire them to coach your team,
like, you brought this person in. It's not like you joined an organization that he was already part of. You brought him in. You paid this guy.
Exactly. So I mean, it's it's definitely something that I'd probably look at him like, what are you doing? Like you like this from your words, like you said this is a bad person, and I'm with you on this one. I'm supporting you on this one, saying this is a bad person. They should be staying away. But now you turn around and there could be, there's all sorts of different things. There could be a discussion in regards to, like, is this Stockholm? Is this some sort of version of it? That you're still not quite dealt with it. Don't know what's going on, and that's fine. But it shouldn't be just ignored, because if we ignore it, that means there's still somebody who's dangerous, who's around people who might be vulnerable. That's not good. That needs to be addressed. That's my point.
King Schmitties, do you want to come up?
Yes. So
I want to hear from you.
I'm sure there must be a good reason for suffering.
Good evening. Hello, people. We had to do something different, and this is how you're going to get me tonight. No putting on any makeup, nothing. If you want to join, click here. Oh, yes. Okay. So Joe just put up the link for you guys to request to speak. Sorry, just one sec while you're figuring that out.
yeah, no, absolutely. They'll come in. They'll join in. If you guys want to come on, you can absolutely come in. Once you can turn on your camera, you don't need to turn on your camera. Preferably
you
have
don't
the
have
microphone
to.
on.
I should have my
nice.
camera turned off for your sakes. But
No, you're not allowed to. The only thing I'm allowed to force Dita to do. Very few things. No. But yeah, no. Come in, join us, and come see what we're, come have a discussion with us.
And if it looks like my eyes are swollen because I'm high, it's because my eyes are swollen because I'm high.
So
I don't smoke before Wednesdays because I'm going to be high.
So not only this, you now got happy Deana tonight.
I'm happy. I'm relaxed. It's a busy week. Freaking crazy ass busy week.
It's been a bit of a busy week. I mean, I'll even be the first one to say, like, this week has been a little bit crazy.
Thanks, King. Are you coming up, Schmitties? What's happening? Tell it to my face.
She's also a little spicy tonight, people.
Spicy. Well, spicy. Anybody can come up. Anybody can request. Yeah. So, but I'd really like to know about this. About
your thoughts and people's thoughts on Theo Fleury. So, I mean,
you guys have a different point of view about Theo Fleury. If this is just news to you, if you have more information about it, maybe he sees pedophiles everywhere because of what he's been through. Yeah, I would agree, but also he should know better than to allow others to be put in harm's way. For sure. But even if he sees pedophiles everywhere, he has a very public platform.
Oops.
He has a responsibility to not just judge other people by what his trauma is. Hey, we got some peeps coming up.
We do, but except I'm a little confused as to what I'm doing here right now.
Is it one person, but they're getting two windows? That's awesome.
Well, I've got two Deanas here.
Oh, whoops.
So let me remove one. I think I've got the one. Do we have the guest? Can we hear you?
We have Calgary Defender. Is that who we're supposed to have?
I believe so.
Oh, gone from my view anyways.
Calgary Defender, are you still there? Oh, no connection.
Nope. Darn it.
There we go. Maybe they'll try again. If it is, I did get a warning, by the way, Calgary Defender, whoever you were. Let's get you back to this way. And, right, I'm in the wrong place.
Now we
Can't be on the right side. There we go.
La Chrysalide.
Yes. All right. So let's add La Chrysalide.
That is a flower.
Chrysalide? I believe it is.
And I have it. It comes out in 3 red flowers. Am I correct?
You're asking me if it's a flower?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually it's French for chrysalis. So like
Right.
butterfly and
Oh,
pre-butterfly.
right. Aw,
So
love it.
that's what it is. It
Nice.
just I've been through a lot of shit in my life, so it is very much representative of who I am, as far as I'm concerned.
Love
Anyway,
it. Nice.
thank you. So this whole Theo shit, like I've known for quite some time that the man is off his rocker. But I was not aware of this whole thing of like I just became aware
Mhm.
of this whole thing of him, hiring or bringing in his abuser
Yeah.
to coach kids. And I'm still trying to grapple with the whole thing and look into it further. From what it is that I know of it, I'm coming very much from a place of ignorance. And I'm wondering whether or not there has been any form of sort of like restorative justice that has taken place between the two of them. If there's been any sort of like, I don't know, rehabilitation. Not to say that still excuses or condones his decision making in any way.
I think you have to look at the dates. So it's not so much whether they had something going on. I think his abuser wasn't outed until around 2002 or something. Mommy Dearest put on the same thread that I had put an article, and I'll try to. Oh, I can't. We're not even on Spaces.
Yeah.
And that article speaks to he hired the coach in the late 90s, I believe, if I'm getting this right. And then it wasn't until another player came out and spoke out about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the coach got charged and sentenced to 3 years in jail, or spent 3 years in jail. So Theo only agreed with it after, but never came forward, I think,
Okay.
if I remember. So it's not like Theo came out about it and then they resolved things and then he hired this coach. It was, I think, before the coach even got. I know there's people on here that know better than I do and maybe remember the article better than I do. And it's probably in the comments here, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just is like, I mean, as far as like knowingly exposing someone to your predator, specifically when we're talking about like sexual assault, it is such like I get the argument around it. I do. Like I don't understand how he figures that he can, condemn and blame and accuse any group of people for doing anything when he knows dick all about it, obviously.
Right.
But like, I mean, speaking as a sexual assault survivor, actually, and I hate that term. I don't even know why I just spit it out, because I think it just rolls naturally off the tongue because everybody uses it. I
Mhm.
don't relate to survivor because that would mean that the abuse is over with, and I'm still very much enduring abuse at the hands of my rapist. But anyway,
I'm sorry.
My rapist was my husband, was my ex-husband, was the father of my 2 children, and he repeatedly raped me throughout our relationship, and yet I still remained with our 2 children. It
Mhm.
wasn't until things really started impacting our 2 children that I finally realized I need to get the fuck out. And so there is very much this very complex relationship between the abuser and the abusee.
Mhm.
And a lot of the time, we who are abused, and especially sexually, we don't report it. We deny it.
Mhm.
Like it took me a very long time to even admit, like to even say to anyone I was raped, that this is actually what in fact happened, to be able to name it and to say, this is what happened.
Mhm.
And so, again, not condoning his behavior. I don't know enough about it, but I think anyone sort of, it's easy for us, for a lot of people, to be like, you know, this is right and this is wrong and this should not have happened. But when it comes to abuse and trauma in any way, shape, or form, but especially when it's an adult on a child, it is that much further complex. And I think in particular, when it comes to Monsieur Fleury, he still has a lot of shit that he needs to reconcile with himself. And his rants and raves and stuff like that are just obvious proof of that. But it is just, it's a very complex situation. And yes, anyone who has been, especially sexually abused, has probably put someone else in a position of being victimized because they didn't come forward, they didn't say anything, so on and so forth. And that is part of the narrative of the victim blaming, why everyone has to come forward to prevent it from happening to someone else. But at the end of the day, my victimization is my victimization. I'm the one that has to live with that, not anyone else. And I am not responsible for that other person's behavior. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
It makes total sense. I really appreciate you talking about that. I guess where I see a difference, though, is that not coming forward is one thing, and people getting victimized by the assaulter, that and that's not any victim's responsibility. That's that person who's doing it. But the difference for me is that he brought this guy in. Like, it's not just he didn't report it. He went a step further and hired this man to be responsible and in the same position of authority that he used to assault Theo. That's the same position he's being given by Theo. And so, and it's not like when we're talking about human trafficking where you get caught up in the lifestyle, or you have pimps that are forcing you, or madams or whoever, bosses that are forcing you to groom other people, right? For those to be in that circle. This is a professional man who made a lot of money, who bought a team, and then paid a man to come into that team, because to me it seemed like hockey meant more. Winning, because clearly that coach was good. He was a good coach. Theo was a great hockey player. He was promised to go to the NHL, like to be drafted or whatever on this guy. On this guy's team.
And Deana will be right back after these short messages. I have a quick question here, and this is
guys.
directed towards Mike.
My bad.
Oops, I think we got Deana back. Just before we get back to you there.
Yeah.
Mike, is the person the coach that he hired Graham James? Like, is that the person he hired?
Yes. It is.
Yes?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So that coach is a really good coach, right? So
I know the history of Graham James. Like, like no, there's...
What's the history? Can you fill me in? Because I don't know the history. Is he good? Is he a great coach?
He was a renowned coach for quite a bit. Graham James became his partner along with Bret Hart. Jesus fucking Christ.
So this is my point, is that it feels to me that Theo set aside the abuse he went through because his focus was building a winning team. And he brought in somebody with winning team skills, winning team coaching skills.
But Graham James is not a one person. Graham James, here's the part that's going to drive me even more nuts about the whole thing. Graham James is not somebody that nobody knows. Graham James is really, really known as an abuser. Not only in, sorry, I got my ear thing right above me.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah. Graham Jeans is renowned. Is a renowned predator.
But when did he become a renowned predator?
Back in the 90s, and he did it, if I remember correctly, in 2 fucking provinces. He did it a bunch in one province when he was getting caught and whatnot, ran off to another province to duck out the whole thing. It caused Hockey Canada to restructure some of the stuff to try to stop things like this from ever occurring again, where they duck from province to province because they'd be going from federation to federation. Hence why the whole umbrella was there. Before the 90s. Either way, like that was part of the whole thing. It was a settlement with Sheldon Kennedy that caused them to do changes. Again, still with, obviously Hockey Canada still has some issues in regards to go, but again, this is not sort of a minor thing. Like, this is a well-known name. Why would you how even
why?
if,
Because he's a really good coach and knows how to get his team to win and build his players. There's just that inconvenient sexual predator aspect of him. That's how it feels to me.
It's one of those I'm looking at really I understand maybe 1 or 2 people kind of was overlooking that, but nobody else in this particular organization was like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is a bad call and a bad move, because you know what? This guy shouldn't be around any of the kids that we're bringing in here, because you know what? Sexual predator. Yeah. Again, it's not a hidden thing. He's a renowned guy in the hockey world.
They didn't do that in the church. Why are they going to do that in the arena? I don't know.
Because there's money and it's much more public. A lot of these times, especially if it's a junior team, they're trying to get money from private organizations to pay for their equipment, to pay for their ice times, to pay for
in the 80s and the 90s, everybody turned their cheeks.
Well, no, it's the 80s and 90s. I'm talking about here today.
Yeah, but he didn't hire this guy here today. He hired this guy back in the late 90s. And it wasn't until, I just put what Mike said, and Mike, I think I had it right. So Mike put up the thing about Theo. He was abused in the 80s.
Okay.
And then hired Graham James later, which was, I believe, in around 1997. That's when he partnered with his abuser. And then he sold, what is it now? He sold his, I can't see over there, but after Sheldon Kennedy, who I think came out in the early 2000s. And that's when he sold the team. So that timing matters. Nobody, it does, I don't know that people actually knew or cared that Graham was.
For some reason, I thought this was like a kind of a current event thing going on right now.
I'm gonna find that article that Mommy Dearest posted, and I will retweet it. It'll be right on my thing.
Yeah, this has been something that's been that happened years ago, and it's. Again, I hate to go back to the whole
that does make it great.
The time period of when it happened, the attitudes, the attitudes towards sexual assault in general, but especially coming from boys against their male coaches in a very lucrative and powerful setting. There's really not many as powerful organizations in this country than hockey and the NHL. So there is so much power involved in this. But even to look at sort of the psychology of it too, Theo was most likely groomed by this man. And a lot of the time when they are groomed, they're led to believe that they are the only one. That they are the point of, or the focus of the situation. And he could have, again, I'm not saying it's right, but he could have, one, convinced himself he was the only one, and that this guy, even if he did do it to other people under Theo's watch, under his control, under his power, would not even try. The other thing is too, as a victim, Theo could have went, if I'm making the wrong move and this guy really is who other people say he is, that he is a predator, and it didn't just happen to me, then other people are going to speak up and say, Theo, what the fuck are you doing? But no one else called him out on it.
No.
Right? So it's that whole thing where it's like, well, if I'm not being called out on it, then I must be making the right decision. I must be doing the right thing. And of course, if there's money to be made at the end of the day, then that's what everybody's going to focus on. So it is such a complex, like so complicated.
I totally agree. I even retract everything I say now in regards to, I thought this was, he hired him now after everything was kind of out in the open in public. I'm like, okay, that's a different thing. But if this is back in the 80s, nothing has really come out. Even Graham James wasn't really caught at that point.
It's in the 90s, but yeah.
Yeah, then in that case, it is different. It's still
fucked up on so many levels.
Yeah, it's still fucked
different.
up. It's still fucked up. I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions in regards to if he was assaulted by Graham James. There is definitely the question in regards to what happened. Why were you comfortable with this? And I'm sure somebody's gonna be asking that question too.
Seriously, if I was one of the victims, if I was one of the players of the Calgary Hitmen and I was assaulted by Graham, I would be fucking holding Theo accountable for that.
And it's not to say that nobody didn't try at that point in time too. Like, I mean, how much of this do we not know about?
No, but they might be able to do.
He shouldn't have invited him and signed him on as the coach and paid him, knowing that he did this. It does
expose him to a lawsuit, though, in a sense, because
whatever.
You can't really expect a person to, if there was no trace or no information in regards to somebody and they assaulted somebody, you can't really expect them to know that this is something they're going to do. But now, with this information of like, he was assaulted himself and yet still hired him as a coach, now you had previous knowledge. And if one of those kids was assaulted that was on the other team, those kids could have legal grounds to actually sue Theo Fleury, saying that he already had knowledge, and he just said he already had knowledge that this was going to happen, and he did nothing to protect me.
Yeah.
Should they?
I mean, they should if they can do it, but like, you can't sue somebody your pain away from being assaulted. Like, it just should have never happened. It happened though.
Yeah.
And then the hypocrisy
that's
is doing right now is
there. It is
like, that's what it comes down to, is that it's so incredibly fucking hypocritical and just straight up bigoted of him to be like completely. But again, it's this typical bullshit that we keep dealing with people like him, who it's, I'm pointing for every finger point that I point at somebody else, I have 3 legitimately being pointed back at me, right? So it's that deflect, project, ignore, stick their fingers in their ears, and just the mantra, la 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 la, I can't hear you. And that's the issue. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's really messed up.
Like, I don't think I'm victim blaming him. I was called a victim blamer, but I'm not victim blaming him. I am blaming him. Like, we can, like, I just put up what Ina said, and she's absolutely right. We can separate the two things. I can feel compassion for him because he was taken advantage of. He was sexually assaulted. He went through a lot of things. He suffered from addiction, likely as a result of his abuse. He's gone through so many things. He clearly has a lot of anger in him. All of those things are true. So yes, I can have that compassion, but I can't excuse, and I don't feel bad for not being able to excuse. I'm open-minded, but I don't feel bad that he invited this person in to innocent people who could have been protected. I mean, don't they? Well, I guess he wasn't convicted, but you do a police check, a vulnerable police check on people to avoid, putting these people in danger. So
There is.
they didn't need to do a vulnerable police check. He already knew. Like that's my point. I don't think that they have to do a police check and all that's all fluffy fluff. The whole point of doing it is so that you can know that that person didn't do it. Well, like, he already knew this person was capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And he still brought them in.
So yeah, the police check was kind of required for even the other police check, because he hadn't been arrested yet for any of that activity, so he wouldn't have been blamed for it. Sorry, not so
Yeah.
much blamed, but he wouldn't have been showing up on one.
But it's not even that. That's not my point. Like me as a landlord,
Mhm.
I'm not going to do a landlord check on somebody who's moving from one building to another building. I already know that person, right? He doesn't need to do a criminal check on Graham James because he already knows that guy is a pedophile.
Yeah.
That's all. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
He
knew.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's I think this comes down to the crux of the whole discussion, which is he knew ahead of time, yet he still did, and it's
As an adult, he knew.
as an adult.
I don't
Like,
know.
yeah, I mean, I
Did
guess
they
the
still
question
have
is
a
why.
relationship? Is maybe like a relationship? Like, did he love him or like what is? I know that there's this whole thing when we're talking about Stockholm or we're talking about
Mhm.
like the effects. Abusers fall in love with their. Victims fall in love with their abusers.
Yep.
At
Well,
times,
it's
a lot
attachment.
of times,
It's
attachment, right?
Yeah.
Attachment.
It's possible. It's absolutely possible. I mean,
I'd like to know how long they were separated for, right? Because is there a certain amount of time that you are away from your abuser that you can qualify now as knowing, as figuring out what has happened to you, unless you were a very young child, and then maybe you don't until I don't know. I don't know. I hope somebody can make sense of it for me, and I don't have to be so wicked about it. But I'm really pissed off about it, and I have no forgiveness for him about that part.
no, that's fair. It's messed up.
What else?
What else? I got something else that just came up today.
Oh, today.
This one came up today, and this is something that's I haven't had more information in regards to it yet, and I'm going to do my old style screen share to show it to you. It's an image, so it's a little bit easier. As soon as I figure out which one the image is,
Jane Sharp, while you're figuring it out, apparently is in
Sharp.
denial that she has a contempt charge to deal with next week in court.
On the 24th.
Oh, the same time we're going to be in court.
Yes, my dear. We get to see her. It's going to be fun.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, this is the one there. There we go. So,
Hey, court on Friday is going to be fun, you guys. There's a couple things going on.
so I'm going to try to make this bigger. I don't know if there's an echo. You
Oh,
guys hear.
that. Yeah.
So actually, there we go. Spotlight. Boom. So this appeared in Tim Hortons. There's and it was brought to pretty much Twitter's attention. I'll read it out quickly for everybody here. This is to inform you that under the Trespass to Property Act, you are not under any circumstance permitted access to or be on the premises of Tim Hortons 330 Queen Street, Ottawa, Ontario. This notification is to clear the place within 30 minutes after purchase Tim Hortons product. Failure to do so will consider as a trespassing. The Ottawa Police will be contacted, who will be instructed to charge you under the Trespass to Property Act. A copy of this letter has been sent to Ottawa Carleton Police. Sincerely, Queen Street, Tim Hortons Management. Well. Oh, there we go. Thoughts?
I have two thoughts. I have many thoughts. I wish there were more places for homeless people to be warm, because we know this is, or we should know that, I mean, I guess people are assuming it has to do with homeless people. This is Queen Street.
This is Queen Street. So yeah, it's Queen Street, Tim Hortons, 330 Queen Street. I'm going to look it up.
I think it's the one where all three coffee shops are in a corner of each other. So there was the Starbucks, the Second Cup, and the Tim Hortons. All.
You might be right.
Pardon? I'm pretty sure that's the one. Yeah. I could be wrong, but maybe it's the Wellington dipshits. Maybe they fucking go to Tim Hortons and they won't leave. Maybe it's not the homeless people.
Yeah. If
But
it's
listen,
them, then I totally get it.
I
As to
pick
why
up-
you want to kick that out.
I pick up Isaac at 7 in the morning, but I'm like, I stop off at the Tim Hortons on Montreal Road on my way at 6:30 in the morning, pick myself up a coffee. And oftentimes there are homeless people around because they get out early to stand at the lights to get money and stuff like that. So they come into the Tim Hortons and they do want a warm place to sleep. And so it's the people that work there that have to keep reminding them to wake up, because one of the things with homeless people is that they are so damn sleep deprived. It is terrible. So they're not only cold, but they don't get good rest. So they try to stay somewhere where it's warm, but they're so tired that they start dozing off.
Yeah.
And that's not ideal for them. And it's not ideal for the Tim Hortons, because the people who are working there that are making minimum wage pretty much keep having to try to wake them up. So it's just shitty all around. So I think Queen Street, Tim Hortons is trying to, because they might be open 24 hours or late, I think they're trying to find a way to stop people from staying there for hours and hours and hours. And I understand where people are coming from who are pissed off with Tim Hortons because these people need a warm place to sleep. At the same time, it shouldn't be incumbent on a business that is there to serve coffee and donuts and whatever to provide that warm place for, 6-7 hours, whatever it is, to stay out of the cold. Our fucking government is failing us. Don't get me wrong, like I'm not pitching or whatever defense for Tim Hortons. I don't care what what restaurant or whatever it is. It's just like, if you're there and you watch those people who are working there having to manage other people who are in, terrible situations, it's just a shitty situation for everybody.
It
really
is. I mean, I know that particular stretch of Queen Street. We walked it for POEC there when we went to and from POEC. And I do know there is also there's a couple of spots along the way that homeless people will actually sleep on the ground there, because it's just above vents.
Those vents, yeah.
Yeah, those vents. And I'm like, all right, I see where you guys are.
It makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
Which is also shitty.
It's shitty, but it's kind of one of those, like, it's kind of like, all right, it's shitty they have to be sleeping on the vents. Yeah. It's good that they have the vents until police park on the vents to be dicks.
That's the thing.
That was a thing.
You know what? I believe it, but what the fuck?
Yeah. I think our mutual friend Sam was actually mentioning it.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. Guess I did. Your thoughts? We still have you here.
Yes, I am still here. Yeah, I too have many thoughts. Again, no simple answer to this one, but what I find frustrating is that and I hope that this is like the management's attempt to try to alleviate some of the pressure on the frontline workers when it comes to dealing with any sort of like potential whatever, as a result of whatever situation. Like, I mean, even if we are talking about people who are just literally loitering, whether they're unhoused or not, this, like, I want to believe that it's the management's attempt to alleviate some of the pressure on the frontline staff, but at the end of the day, this could end up creating more of an issue than they're preventing, depending on who it is that this is supposed to be dealing with. And at the end of the day, too, like, the police getting this notification, I'm sure they probably laughed their heads off, going like, okay, for every half hour that, like, for every person that stays that 1 minute over, are we going to get a 911 call going, please come and charge this person? Like, there's no city in this province, at the very least, that has enough policing staff to be handling that type of situation on a consistent basis, and probably why this is a problem in the first place. So yeah, like, I mean,
Maybe they offer free coffee to the cops. Maybe they're like, listen, you guys get all the coffee that you want. We just need you to help us with this.
Yes. Yeah. But no, like, I mean, no one should have to deal with any kind of situation when it comes to this. Whether it is unhoused people, they shouldn't be facing this type of situation. And then the minimum wage paid frontline workers shouldn't have to be there to clean, and I use like, clean shit up that isn't their mess, no matter who it is that's leaving it there. It's
really shitty that is where these people have left to go, because it's gotten that bad. It is so bad. It is so bad here. Like, I'm not talking about Ottawa only. I was trying to look for an apartment for somebody the last few weeks. It's ridiculous. The prices are out of control. Because I work in housing co-ops, I don't normally look out to the private market, but housing co-ops are book solid. Their waiting lists are super long. The last time we ever had any vacancy loss issues was I was pregnant with my daughter, so 2013. Since 2013, the vacancy loss has been super, super low, and now it's not even, it's pretty much 0%. Like, it's just, there's no vacancy anywhere, and if there are, we're not told about it because these units are purposely vacant, if you know what I mean. And the rent is super high. So my mom just moved into a building. Her one bedroom, it's about 1,000 square feet, $2,200 a month.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Holy shit's right. $2,200 a month. That's a one bedroom. So, like, it's so bad. They haven't rented everything yet, but the rent is going up. My mom said, like, are you guys giving, because she noticed that the building wasn't rented up. She just came back from Egypt, so she just moved in this week. And she's like, I see there's vacancies. Are you about to give promotions? And they said, no, if anything, the rent is going up. So I don't know. I don't know how anybody's surviving on, like, I don't make tons of money, but if I had to pay $2,200 a month, it would be hard for me. My house is not $2,200 a month. I bought it in 2015. It's a 4-bedroom house. I'm not paying $2,200 a month.
And that's the shittiest thing about this whole thing too, or one of the things, is that if you can afford to pay $2,200 a month in rent, you should be able to afford to buy a house.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The banks don't see it.
No, they don't.
And if even if your credit is shit, and you can afford to spend $2,200 a month on rent,
Yep.
then your shitty credit rating should not be taken into consideration when it
Absolutely.
comes to getting approved for a mortgage.
Absolutely.
And that's not how we do it. And like Ontario right now as a province, I think we are the worst right now.
It's abysmal. It is disgusting.
Like it's just absolutely so incredibly frustrating. And Peterborough, like I mean, we've been sitting with a less than 1% vacancy rate for
Yep.
10 years at
Yep.
least
Mhm.
in the city itself.
Yeah, 10 years.
Uh,
That's what yeah, 2013. That's oh my God, that's 10 years ago. Holy crap.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, it's insane. And like I am so incredibly disillusioned and feeling incredibly defeated right now when it comes to the city council here. They back in December, it was asked for a tiny homes and like housing initiative for the city council to allot $100,000 from a $2 million social services fund that we have. So 5% of this fund to take this $100,000 and put it towards tiny homes to help the unhoused right now. This was back in December. Council shot it down. Nope, we're not doing that. They just voted
Why
on.
though? Why?
There was no justification beyond, we don't have that kind of money. And it's like, you fuckers, you do so.
It's so much more expensive to deal with homeless people. Are they fucking kidding?
That's the thing, is this Monday. So we have the
People find the money for that for some reason.
Oh, fuck.
We have the Wolf Street shelter that people like encampment at this point where there's been major like upheaval and people are not happy about it, whether it's the neighbors and then the people in the encampment. Everything's social unrest big time.
Yeah.
So what the council chose to do on Monday was get private security for the encampment.
Are
not
you
for the people.
even
No, I
kidding
wish I was
me?
kidding. So they are paying $3,330 a week to hire private guards to protect the property from the unhoused at this encampment, which is what, $175,000 a year. So instead of back in December taking the 100,000 and putting it towards housing initiatives, they opt 3 months later, countless deaths because of people being left out in the elements and dying. And
you're in Peterborough?
Yeah.
Are they still there?
The encampment?
The security guards.
They're there, I believe, 24/7.
What are you thinking?
I'm going. I'm gonna fucking next weekend. Next weekend I'm protesting right fucking there with my goddamn megaphone. I'm dead serious. That's fucking disgusting.
I know, right?
That is the stupidest fucking shit I have ever heard in my goddamn life, and I'm gonna protest. Yeah. I'll stand away from them, but I'm gonna be yelling the fucking shit that comes out of my brain and through my mouth at that given time. Yeah. Next weekend. Next weekend.
It's friggin' insane.
Let's talk this week.
We're doing it.
Yeah, I know. Let's talk this week. I'm
fucking doing it.
Let me figure out which equipment I'll bring.
Anybody else who lives in Peterborough who wants to come out, let's fucking do this. This is stupid.
Yeah. No, it's insane.
You're going to have to fill me in some more. I want all the deets. Just like DM me. I'm serious.
I can do that. No, I've been trying to keep up on it. I normally watch, like they live stream our city council meetings and I normally watch them. But for whatever reason, I'm focused on schoolwork on Monday night and completely forgot about it. And so found out like the day after. And so I've been trying to like wrap my head around the whole thing ever since. But like literally one of our counselors who is awesome, like he's doing his best to try and fight a lot of this bullshit. He knows that the summer is only going to get worse. The summer is only going to get exponentially worse, and every choice that the rest of the council members or the majority of the council members, including our mayor, who is showing his true colors, is just
You
maybe
guys went
not.
from a good mayor like Diane to the mayor you have now.
Yes. Yeah. No. And Jeff Leo, like, I mean, he was a Liberal MP for us quite a few years ago. And that's what people were sort of running on was, well, you know, he did well for the city then. And now he's like, he's full on fucking.
He was an MP or an MPP.
I think it was MPP.
So he's provincial.
No, it was MP. No, he
Okay, it was
I'm pretty
federal.
certain
It was federal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but no, he's like conservative light at this point, and it
A lot
just
of liberals
drives
are,
me nuts.
though. A lot of liberals are.
Yeah. So yeah, but no, the whole housing situation is just such a. I'm seeing red, and I'm constantly seeing red when it comes to housing and the fact that we put property and buildings and inanimate objects over the
Ahead of
priority of human life on a consistent basis drives me out the wall. But yes, I will definitely keep you posted because I'm looking into it and trying to figure out, like, I don't even know exactly. It was my understanding was that these guards were going to be 24/7 to protect the area from the encampment. I believe part of it was that they were going to clear out the encampment again. They were going to
Ottawa needs an
remove
encampment.
everybody. And it's like, even if you move people and shove them away and take away all their shit, where do they go?
Well, all you're doing is leaving them with less than what they had.
Yeah.
How does that fucking help a damn person? It
Yeah.
doesn't help anybody.
It's punching down.
Yeah. No, it doesn't help anybody whatsoever. Right now I'm at Trent, and my my OSAP every semester is under question. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be at Trent. But the city, through the Trent research, community research, has this research proposal that they've posted online that I really want to take up. But hindering, like, OSAP is such a big question. But it literally asks, why is it we want to understand why it is that some of our most vulnerable citizens refuse or choose not to take advantage of shelters and would rather sleep outside. And I know that, you know, the part of the phrasing and everything like that, and they're posting it as a research subject and trying to keep it as simple as possible. But I'm like, are you fucking daft? Like, do you seriously have no idea? And I think that's a huge part of it. And I so want to take up this research project because it's like, people need to know why it is that, like,
you and I need to talk
offline.
You and I need to talk offline. Joe knows what I'm talking about. We had something.
Yeah.
We were talking about stuff. I posted. If you're interested, there's a woman named Christine who lives in Lower Town. She's 70 years old. She's Métis. She's been paying attention to the issue in Lower Town, Ottawa. And I had interviewed a couple of homeless women and put it on my YouTube channel, which is not a huge channel, but I wanted to start doing that. And then she liked the idea and kept it going. So she's been interviewing Julie, who is a homeless woman in Ottawa, a lot. She interviewed her a lot, and interviewed someone named Diane, who we got to know at the St. Bridget's Church when the United People of Canada tried to take it over. And the last one that I posted very recently is Diane and Julie talking about this woman. They don't quite, I think she's a refugee from Haiti based on their description, but they weren't able to narrow down where she was from. Doesn't matter though. She is new to Canada. She was crying. Diane asked why she was crying. She said she was sexually assaulted by the woman who was sleeping in the same room or something. Anyway, they go into detail about how the staff treated her, how she was treated in there, how people are getting their stuff stolen, how the staff are treating the people there. It's just not a safe, they don't feel that it's a safe place to go. How the bathroom is kept, how the showers, how the not the guards, but the men who work there, were caught looking at one of the women while she was showering. Like, this is their story. And so you really should, like, when people are like, why aren't people going to shelters? They really don't want to go to shelters. It's not safe for them. It's not a good place for them.
Mhm.
So, for most of the summer, Diane had gotten a hammock and was sleeping in the park in her hammock. Then she got a little tent and an air mattress. She much rather wanted, but when it started to get cold, her and I even went to shop at sale to see if we could get an ice fishing tent, if that would keep her warm in the winter.
Mhm.
And it wasn't suitable. Like, it wasn't going to work. The guy was so nice that he even started calling this other camping place. I don't know what it was called, but he's just like, look, let me try these places, because we told him what it was needed for. And he says, we don't usually send people off to the competition, but I guess this is a different case. Yeah, like, it makes zero sense to me how a city cannot find enough money. Do you know that there are families who are living in hotel rooms, and the hotel rooms cost about $100, motel rooms, excuse me,
Mhm.
$100 a night.
Yeah.
That's $3,000 a month
Yeah.
for a one bedroom for a family to live in. Somehow the city can come up with that emergency money, but can't seem to pin down an actual fucking solution to this problem. And if buying tiny homes is the solution at what, $30,000 each, that's a year's worth of $3,000 in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they're not very good business people. And that's just the hotel part. We're not even talking about, the health consequences of being homeless. I know there's so much more. Like, there's all these other issues that have to be addressed, but yeah, I don't know. It's just getting worse. And having 2,500 units roughly come up in my neighborhood here, right in my immediate neighborhood. I'll be able to walk to all of these different buildings that are about to pop up in my neighborhood. They're all mid to high end. They're luxury apartments.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's
who?
zero attempt to bring in affordable
Zero.
housing. And it's like, we need affordable housing.
Yes.
It's an absolute must. Either that and or universal basic income. Like, there
Correct.
is no other way of getting around this. And the fact that, like, OW and ODSP does not pay enough to even remotely cover any of the, like, the rent
Not even
alone.
the rent, not the whole check. If
No.
you add the maximum shelter component, the diet, whatever the basic needs, any special diet or medicine, you can add those all together and give it to somebody in dollars, and it still won't pay for a month of rent for a one bedroom.
Yeah.
Not like a one bedroom
Mhm.
in this city.
Yep.
And probably in yours too.
Yes.
In
Oh, no.
Ontario. In
Yeah.
Ontario.
No, it's insane. But no, like, I really want to do this research. But even the first thing that came to my mind was, like, of course, I want to talk to the people who are unhoused, who are most
Yes.
affected by this. But I also want to interview. I want to talk to people who are housed, because it's like, and try not to sound like a total and complete, like, sarcastic bitch or anything like that. But it's like, I want to go to people in their homes and go, well, why do you choose? Like, is it just you and your immediate family, or you and, housemates, whatever, that live in this one house? Why is it that you choose to live in an individual house and not in, like, old age homes type, retirement home type communities. Like, why do you not choose communal living? And I would be interested to know how it is that most people are going to respond to that, and how it is that, most people don't think about what happens in shelters, and how unsafe it can be, and the lack of privacy and the lack of control. But at the end of the day, we also sit back and justify it. Well, they made this choice, so these are the consequences. You choose to be unhoused. You've chosen, or you've made decisions that
And
has
that's a lie.
ended up you being unhoused. So this is where you need to go. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
most people don't choose to be unhoused.
It's exactly it. That's the lie. Like we all these people are covering themselves and saying like, well, they choose to be like this. They choose to be poor. They choose to be in this situation. There's a lot of people now that are employed, working 40 hours, that are still unhoused.
Yeah.
And a fair amount of them for just financial reasons where they can't afford it, or issues of credit, or just not possible, or it could be even vacancy rates that just drive them out. So it's really, really tough in regards to, to turn around to these people and say like, no, this is not the story. It's not a story about like, these people choose to live in the streets. I'm like, if that was the case, then we should be seeing a whole bunch of empty houses that people aren't taking. No, they're all full. There's some of them that are full that are owned and still empty, but like, there is a housing problem, and no matter how you're paying it, you're ignoring the fact that there's a lot of people on the street. We're missing a lot of houses, and there's a lot of empty places.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah. No, and it frustrates me because I live right beside a building that has been empty for at least a decade now, and it sits on an empty lot, so that the building was used, like it's a small, it's an old schoolhouse is what it used to be, and it was turned into like a small event space, and there was a fire a few years ago, and it has sat locked up and empty for the past 10 years.
Is it condemned?
Nope. There's nothing on it. There's nothing around it to say that it's been condemned. There was even unhoused people that had broken into the basement and squatted in it. Even a couple people who had gone in under the back stairs. So not even into the building, but just under the back stairs. And one of the churches, the local churches, owns it. And they have done, like, they've put all this money into reinforcing the back stairs, reinforcing the doors, reinforcing the windows on this building that has literally sat empty for 10 years to keep the unhoused out, rather than, tearing down the building, I don't even know if it is fixable, but they've literally put money into preventing the unhoused from getting into it.
That property is appreciating, and those investors are waiting for a good time to sell.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that I can think of. And when we had the Tiny Homes Initiative start up this summer, they had put up a demo right in the parking lot beside me. And I was like, oh, are they seriously, like, we have new neighbors, like, this is going to be awesome. And then I realized it was just a demo. And I was like, can you guys not consider this as a space for it? And that's the other issue when it comes to the tiny homes, is our city council cannot decide on an appropriate space to have these tiny homes set up. Literally the area that they want to have them, it's the counselors, the ward, the counselor who's in that ward is like, not in my backyard. You're not bringing that to me. And it's zoning, and it's all of this shit, and it's bureaucracy and fucking red tape. That's all it is. And excuses. But no, it just, again, like, buildings that are sitting empty. The church across the road from me, the congregation said we're no longer a church about a year ago. That church sat empty up until 2 months ago. And now some of our unhoused go in there and use it as an emergency shelter overnight. but that only happened about a month. Well, actually, I think it was back in December.
Do they have people there like servicing it and stuff, or is this like um
I
is
believe
it
the city bought it off of, like, bought the church when they decided they were no longer going to use
okay?
it as a church. I believe the city bought it, and it's been sitting
And
empty. And then through all of this unhoused stuff, it was like, why don't you let us have the church as an accessible space to let people have emergency shelter?
okay.
And that was a fight.
And
in
they
and of
went for
itself.
it.
They
at least.
did go
Okay.
for it. Yeah. But all of these like sort of stop gaps that we have in place right now are all ending as of, I think it's the end of April.
And it doesn't
Or
look
the
like they're
beginning of
renewing
April.
anytime soon.
No. Yeah. No, it's insane. And it just, yeah. I'm so incredibly angry where I'm at, like, I literally met with someone at one city yesterday because I was like, this is partly, networking, but it's also, I want to have a better understanding of what the organization does within the city and everything. But I am so angry that I'm at the point where I need to find constructive ways and directions to put this anger before I do something stupid.
I feel like a lot of people are angry, but we need to start challenging or challenge. What is my
Challenging. What is your wrong?
No. I'm not high anymore either, so I don't know what the problem is. I need to start channeling.
That is the problem.
Channeling. Yeah, you're right. I should smoke again. Channeling. We all need to start channeling our anger into something productive.
Yes.
Like the protesting thing is one thing, but people need to start getting to work, and that means like lobbying. That means standing behind these people or standing in front of their encampment before these stupid cops try to come and or the city or whoever's in charge tries to remove these encampments. Like security guards protecting a space. It's not their fault.
No.
I'm sure they're chuds though. Like, I don't think they're very nice. Well, I don't know. Maybe they are. You would know more.
let's not judge them until we actually see them. I mean, like,
so maybe they are nice to the people there. Who knows? Maybe they don't like their job, but they're getting paid. So, who knows? It's just like one poor decision after poor decision after poor decision made by the people that we elect, to solve these problems, and we all see it. Just nobody's doing anything about it. And then we complain about Tim Hortons. Why is everybody's fucking like? Let's circle right back to the beginning of this.
Yeah,
and everybody's mad at Tim Hortons for not letting somebody stay 1 minute past 30 minutes.
All right. So the Tim Hortons thing, by the way, I just got some information from Sam actually, and he mentioned because he was familiar with it. But what we don't know is that particular sign wasn't recent. That particular sign was back in December of 2019. So it's already been dealt with. They apologized. Yeah. So if you go take a look at the original tweet I did in regards to it, like the retweet, because I asked the question prior, like, does anybody have some background on this one? Because I didn't want to say, hey, let's go after Tim Hortons. I wanted to find out some information.
Businesses need to date their letters and their posters. Make sure you date your posters so it doesn't go viral 3, 4, 5 years later. And then you're going through that same bullshit again. Note to self.
Protect your brand by Deana.
Well, just like anytime you put up a notice, make sure it's dated. That's all.
Oh, totally. Anything you're going to be doing in public, you should absolutely do. Well, especially with something that might be construed. I mean, you're never going to know what's going to be misconstrued until after you do it. But yeah, just in general, when you throw something up there, probably a good idea. Well,
congratulations, Tim Hortons. You just let us have a whole hour-long conversation about the issues of homelessness in our cities.
Because you couldn't date your goddamn letter.
It was good though. No, it was good. But seriously, like everybody was online, right? Like today, getting pretty nasty with Tim Hortons. and
Oh, yeah.
never going there ever again because of that sign. But we're not holding our counselors accountable for not coming up with a proper permanent solution.
No,
Like,
it's true.
this is where our vitriol needs to be directed at, not at Tim
Yeah.
Hortons. Like, fuck Tim Hortons. They're a
Tim
symptom
Hortons-
of the problem.
Yeah. Tim Hortons is dealing with a problem that's kind of going to them as opposed to sort of trying to address the more underlying problem.
Yeah.
I mean, so Ottawa this year is now implementing a vacancy tax to try to see if they can shake open the houses that are, or the properties that are kind of locked up. I don't know what the vacancy tax rate is in Ottawa.
I actually filled it out just in time, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
You know what is good about the city?
Mhm.
Because I need this in my life, actually.
Are you kidding me?
They called me. They robo-called me 3
They
times
did that too.
to
Yep.
remind me that I still haven't filled the vacancy tax, or maybe that I had till March 16th to do it. I don't know if they knew that I didn't do it or if they're just robocalling everybody, but I highly, as somebody who is like me, who is overly busy and means very well, I needed that. And that's what got me to do it on time.
Well, absolutely. I'm trying to find out how much they're charging, but from what I've seen, exemptions, audits, change of ownership, late declarations, appeals, blah, 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 blah. I think it's like 1%. Like, that's it? Just 1%? So they're only charging people 1%.
1% of what? 1%
Yeah.
of what your house is valued at, or what?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to find out. Is how much is it going to cost you? If
Well,
you're
that'd be like $5,000 for me. My house is worth double than what I paid for it when I bought
that's what I
it.
want to find out. Like if it's
That's
if it's 1% of the value, I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If you got $1 million property, you're trying to sit onto it, and if it's growing at a greater rate than 1%, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to be a deterrent, especially with investment property.
I see what you mean. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I understand what you're saying. You're right.
Mhm.
So if it's vacant for a year and you're going to pay 1% of what the value is, so you're going to pay $10,000 or $100,000. Meanwhile, your $1 million house has now appreciated to $1.5 million. You can say bye to that 100,000, but hello to the extra 400,000. I get it.
Oh, okay. So, according to CTV News, they said about as they were approaching the deadline, but 4% people hadn't responded back to it.
Okay.
So Thursday, 11:59 p.m. is the deadline for people to submit their declaration, which will see an extra 1% property tax charged on vacant units.
Oh, 1% property tax. So it's the property value. So 1% for me would be $100 maybe a month, $1,200.
I'm not even sure. I don't even think that's not that much. Like I don't.
How much are our property taxes right now? 3%?
That's based on the value of your property.
I just don't see how this won't end up biting renters in the ass in the long run. Like,
Wouldn't be affecting the renters. I mean, if because remember, it's only for property that's vacant.
mhm.
So if the property is rented, then it's not
It's
going to.
incentive. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
incentive for the property owner to fill their unit.
Mhm.
Doug Ford thought that by removing the rent control for anything built after 2018, November 2018, it would inspire investors to come here to build more units. And it did. But the problem is it's not inspiring them, A, to fill it quickly, and B, to keep the prices at market value. So they're the ones who have jacked up the prices. And then anything that's rent-evicted, like anybody who's been rent-evicted, they can renovate their unit and then circumvent the rent control.
Yeah.
So it's done nothing for anybody. So these
I
little
think it's accelerated the
incentives-
problem.
It totally has.
Yeah.
It 100% has.
And the backlog when it comes to the whole rent control thing, to or the backlog of the tribunal.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. It was
Like-
backlogged before COVID. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
backlogged. Right before COVID, he put a hiring freeze on adjudicators. I was thinking of becoming an adjudicator for the landlord tenant board. Like, a lawyer that I was working with was like, you should apply for this. And then he's like, forget it. This guy just quit, a guy that was there for a long time. And he's put a hiring freeze, which is why one of the adjudicators quit, because he's just like, you're crazy. They were driving from Toronto to Ottawa, these adjudicators. And then
Mhm.
they were going on Zoom because of COVID. But before that, they were literally like going all over on like these two places in Ontario to do their job. It was ridiculous.
See, doing it Judge Judy style too.
No, just stupid. And then COVID happened, and now you're like a year and a half before you can get in front of an adjudicator for anything other than arrears.
Yeah.
Arrears were supposed to be within the next month. Now it's like 7-8 months. So yeah.
Yeah. No, my landlord, I live in a duplex, like side by side. And my side is like the family side. I've been here for 6 years now.
Nice.
And then the other side has been specifically the whole time that I've been living here for students. And when I first moved in here, the rent for the students was, I think it was $500 a room.
Yeah.
He now charges $900.
Yep. Yep.
He makes $3,600 a month just from that side alone. And he upped it to the $900 just this past, last spring, so a year ago.
The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and then the girls, the young women that lived in there prior were falsely evicted, but obviously could not, or they could have fought it, but not in time. And none of them had the money and or energy or resources to fight it. They're also,
It's not cheap. It's not easy.
no, it's not. And if you don't know anything about it, one of them didn't even know that the tribunal even existed, that that was even an option. And so it's just, yeah,
That's crazy.
it's not set up in a way for people to be able to utilize it. And
You know what, though? It's changing. Doug Ford has changed, or is trying to change it, but I don't think he's doing it the right way. But
Shocker.
Ontario is very much on the side of the tenant versus the landlord when it comes to the tribunal, when it comes to evictions and such. At least it was. It's been a while since I've been to the tribunal, but I'm talking about the laws that are in place because it's so backlogged. But in terms of like a landlord trying to evict a tenant, it's much more difficult unless it's cut and dry arrears. And even then, the adjudicator will give the tenant one last opportunity to clear up their arrears before you can contact the sheriff for a writ of possession.
Yeah.
There's still that opportunity. The problem, though, right now is rents are so high that it now becomes an unfair system, because who can afford rent every month? And just one thing wrong going on in your life, you get sick with COVID and you have to take a week off. You get into a car accident and your car now has to go to the shop, so you need to take a day off to get it there, or you don't have quick transportation anymore. A kid gets sick. Any of these things could really set you off of your game. It's just too easy now. So the system is completely and utterly rigged now.
Yeah.
If we were talking about, 7-8 years ago and having to go up in front of a tribunal, I'd say maybe even 10 years ago, I would say we needed more social sort of resources to help people with their finances and such. But there's no amount of financial literacy that will help anybody survive on a $45,000 a year salary paying $2,200 a month for a one bedroom. It's just not a thing.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Well, we're coming close to 11 o'clock. We're going to have to wrap up soon because some of us have a bit of a road trip tomorrow.
Hey, we do.
We do.
We're coming into your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Oh, where are you off to tomorrow?
Peterborough Library.
Oh, okay. I
So
knew
if you're-
that.
Yeah.
I may or may not be there tomorrow. I don't know yet.
We'll just make sure you say hi.
Okay.
If you
I
can.
will.
All right.
For sure. We'll definitely be doing down there as there's going to be another drag story time, and we've heard that there might be potentially some protesters. So
Unwanted
we do our part.
people.
Unwanted people. Look at that. You're being polite. She's
It's the end of the night. I'm
tomorrow.
tired. Yeah.
She's saving it all for tomorrow, where she will unleash. Are you bringing
I
the
don't know.
megaphone?
I'm bringing the megaphone, but it's always the mood. Sometimes I feel like engaging and ripping them to shreds with my tongue, or sometimes I just feel like chilling, observing.
It's fair.
We'll see how it goes.
We will. We'll see. Hopefully, we're hoping for a much quieter day tomorrow.
Yeah. Exactly.
I am expecting to see some of the local church people.
I hope not.
And if they're kind of like the way they were last week, and I'm like, yeah, leave them be. They're sorry, not last week, but last time we were there, the church
That's
people
fun.
themselves kind of kept to themselves on the other side of the street. They held up their signs. That's just pretty much it. There's been
Lady
a request.
Deathstrike wants Oh Canada. You were just about to say that, weren't you?
Yeah. Apparently, we've had musical requests. I don't know. So tomorrow, you might need to fulfill that one.
We'll see.
Aside from that, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
No,
Thank you, like
anyway.
I did, for coming on.
Twitter sucks tonight. They were just being dumb. I tweeted at Elon Musk. He must know that there's a problem. I didn't
Didn't know
pay
before.
for Twitter Blue so that the service would go down, Elon. Jesus. I didn't even want to give him a cent. That was me. Seriously, ask Joe.
I know.
I'm like, there's no
I know.
fucking way I'm gonna get Twitter Blue. But something has come up, and there's a reason. It won't go past a year subscription.
There's a method to your madness.
There is a reason, yes, 100%.
Usually I say some madness to my method, but yeah, it holds.
Just plain madness.
It's true. It is.
Anyway, all right, guys.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, safe travels tomorrow, and I may or may not see you.
Okay, well, maybe we'll see you.
Absolutely.
Bye,
And
everybody else. Don't
as
feed the
always, when it
trolls.
comes to Deana,
You're right.
That was different.
You're right, Dana. Well, you're right. When you're right, you're right.
And
I agree with
Do you guys?
have a good night, everybody.
Right.